Yes.
Good morning and welcome to the Placer County Transportation Planning Agency, Placer County Airport Land Use Commission, Western Placer Consolidated Transportation Services Agency, and the Placer County Local Transportation Authority. Today is Wednesday, February 25th, and we're going to start off with the pledge to the flag by our City Councilwoman.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Alice.
You're welcome.
Okay, when we have roll call? So, yes.
Broadway.
Here.
Brown. Here. Burris.
Here.
Cortez. Present. DiMattei. Dowden-Calvillo.
Present.
Howdeshelt.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Wilkins. Full house.
Okay, great. Would you also help us out in explaining the meeting procedures?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Agendas are available on the back table and on the PCTPA website. If you'd like to speak, please direct your comments to the board. If you are in person, please come to the podium. On Zoom, please use the raised hand feature. If you're on the phone, press *9 and we'll call on speakers in the order received. Comments on items not listed on the agenda should be made during public comment, as required by the Brown Act. Please limit comments to 3 minutes and state your name for the record. At the podium, the yellow light indicates 1 minute remaining, and a beep will sound when your time is up. Thank you so much for being here and for your participation.
Great, thank you for that. Item D, agenda review.
Madam Chair, the agenda remains unchanged since publication.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item E, approval of the minutes. Did everybody get a chance to look over the minutes?
I move to approve.
Okay.
I'll second. Sorry, I was trying to find the mic button here. Guess I can do it
Motion
right
and
there.
a second.
No, I can't.
Do we have to do a roll call, or is it just?
No, it's over.
Nope, okay, good. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, we're going to move on to item F, a public comment. Persons may address the board on items not on this agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 meetings. Three meetings. 3 meetings, that's a long time.
That's too long.
3 minutes, I'm sorry.
3 meetings.
Anybody want to comment? Are we doing Zoom?
We are doing Zoom. If you would excuse me for just a
Okay.
minute, I kicked out for some.
Is that 3 meetings in a calendar year or 3 meetings this month?
3 meetings this month, and then that's it. No, okay, comment. Okay, the board want to make any comments? Okay, we're going to move on. Item G, the consent calendar. Does anyone want to pull anything off the consent calendar for further discussion? No? Yep.
I don't necessarily want to pull anything off, but I just wanted to request to Matt, when we are considering changes to salary schedules, I would really like to see the class spec, because I'm assuming that Sylvie's duties will be changing. It sounded because we've got a vacancy, and so because of those changes, the salary schedule needed to be adjusted. And so I would just like to be able to see that new class spec, because obviously it will be changing to accommodate those new duties. So if you could maybe forward that to me, I'd appreciate it greatly.
Yep.
Okay, does anyone in the public want to pull anything off of the agenda? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, I'll take a motion.
I'll move approval of the consent calendar.
Second?
Motion and a second. I need to get Broadway and Burris, I'm sorry. I just flew in from DC yesterday. I'm not here yet. So, okay. So all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, I will move to item H, consent calendar, Western Placer Consolidated Transportation Planning Agency. Does anyone want to discuss that, or seeing none? Anyone in Zoom? Okay, we'll take a motion.
I'll move approval.
A second.
Okay, motion by Dowden-Calvillo, second by Cortez. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, we're going to move on to item I, fiscal year 2025-2026 overall work program and budget amendment 2. And so Jody is going to do this one for us.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. Today I'm going to present to you our second amendment for our OWP and budget for this current fiscal year. Last month I brought to you a preview of next year's, but we are going back in time to our current fiscal year. There were very few changes in this amendment too. We had some staff and benefits, staff allocation changed based on changes in workload, and then there was a $8,000 increase, and that was for retirement health insurance costs. Direct expenses, the bulk of the $122,000 was for the value engineering for the I-80 65 interchange. And then our indirect or our overhead cost changed at $89,000. And the bulk of that was due to the indirect cost adjustment that we are required to record. And it is the difference between the budgeted and actual from 2 years prior. I found an error in our internal spreadsheet that is used to calculate that, and it has been adjusted. And then there was a few other small changes for staff time that are going towards overhead, and then a small increase in our internet service. And then here is a look at our comparison against Amendment 1. We do have a balanced budget, and unless there's any questions, that concludes my presentation.
Okay, board members, anyone have questions or comments? No? Anyone in the public? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, that was easy. Okay, I'll take a motion.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Dowden Calvillo, second by Cortez. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, we're going to move on now to item J, Placer Rides Program Administration Contract Approval. And who's going to do this one? Okay, Mike, thanks.
Thank you, and good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. As this item indicates, this is the approval of a new contract for the administration of the CTSA's Placer Rides program. Just a little bit of background, the Placer Rides program has been in effect since July of 2021, and that program was administered and is continuing to be administered by our partners at Seniors First, and that master agreement for that program administration expires this June. And so per PCTPA's requirements for procurement, we did actually release a request for proposals for the administration of the Placer Rides contract back in November of last year. That procurement period ended January 5th, and then we received 2 proposals from Connecting Point and also from Move Stanislaus. Seniors First did not propose for administration moving forward after June for this contract. We'd like to acknowledge that our partnership with Seniors First has been tremendous over the years. They have really worked with us to help grow the program to where it's at today, and we want to continue growing that process moving forward with our new contractor. So just looking at the RFP criteria that we had, we looked at several different factors when evaluating our 2 proposals that we received. One, of course, very important factor was an understanding of how this program really complements our existing public transit services provided here in the Placer region. We wanted to make sure that our future contractor is well aware of the partnerships with different stakeholders that really make this program successful so that we can provide mobility options for those that may not be able to use other existing transit services or resources. Of course, it's very important that the new contractor have similar experience in this type of program administration, and that includes different functions that are listed here on the slides. And then that they appropriately allocate their resources, and that there potentially is some new considerations for innovations or different mechanisms that a contractor can propose that can make this program continue to evolve in a positive direction and continue to be able to expand in a sustainable manner. So we looked at things like our allocation of resources, innovation. We looked at the cost, the proposals, of course, for these 2 contractors, and then the overall experience that these contractors had. So looking at those two contract proposals, the evaluation committee, which consisted of partners at our transit operators, it was the executive teams of each of our transit operators, and then myself here at CTSA. We did rank out of the two proposals, MOVE Stanislaus Transportation Inc., or MOVE, as the higher, most qualified, experienced contractor to move forward with this partnership to administer the program. Just a little bit of background on MOVE before I actually introduce them to the board. They do currently serve as the Consolidated Transportation Services Agency for Stanislaus County down in the Modesto area. So they're very familiar with operating programs that are very similar to the ones that we operate here in Placer, including our mileage reimbursement program. They have a program called Bridges, which is almost identical to our program Placer Rides here in Placer County. So that is very relevant experience that we found very important. They're also very well equipped from a personnel level and organizational level to administer this program with insurances of continuity in their personnel and structure, to where if they had any personnel changes, there would be a lot of redundant resources to be able to administer this program. And so that was very important to us as well. And then lastly, between the two proposals, MOVE had a very good transition plan that works with all of our existing stakeholders, including our partners, our current partners at Seniors First, to effectively transition the program with as minimal disruption as possible to our current clients and the benefits that our program offers today. So with that, I'm going to show the board a very short video to introduce MOVE, and then I will call up their Chief Executive Officer, Tony, to say a few words to our board.
Getting where you need to go isn't always easy, so we turn transportation into connection, a lift for groceries, a helping hand, support for those who served, so appointments made are kept. Because when mobility looks different for each of us, we provide support specific to your needs, giving you the confidence to ride on your own and ride without worry. To move freely isn't just independence, it's dignity, time, and possibility. Every driver, every trainer, every neighbor we serve is part of something bigger, a community that moves together.
And with that, I'd like to introduce Tony Hill, the Chief Executive Officer of MOVE.
Welcome.
Maybe you need your mic on, or maybe just adjust it.
There you go. Try it now.
Yeah, I'm Tony Hill, the CEO for MOVE, and we just want to say that we appreciate your time and your consideration for reviewing the proposal that's in front of you as far as board action today. But the thing that we're excited about is that we're excited about extending what we do. We are committed to serving our community. We enjoy the partnership we've established with Matt, and Matt, he's a joker, and Mike, and we think it's going to be a wonderful partnership. And the thing that we're very committed to is extending the reach of the resources. And so we're going to do our very best for you, and we're so excited. But I'm going to bring up Christian, and Christian Bragg, she's my Director of Operations, and she has a few words.
Okay, great.
Hello, so I'm Kristen. Nice to meet you guys. Thank you for having us here. I have worked at MOVE for quite some time and used to run our Bridges program, so I am very excited to expand helping the community over here as well. So nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you. Okay.
Thank you, Tony and Kristen. So just a little bit of details. So that, as was indicated in the request for proposals package, the master agreement with MOVE is actually proposed with a base year of 4 years with an optional 2 one-year extensions. There are two letter of task agreements, or LOTAs, contained in your board packet. One of those LOTAs is to begin the transition period from MOVE to Seniors First, effective with the board's authorization or approval of this master agreement, so today, through June 30th, and that would allow MOVE to come on board and start working with myself and our partners at Seniors First, as well as our other stakeholders, to really transition program functions, clients, information, all of the outreach and marketing docketing that's necessary to ensure that smooth transition over between now and June 30th. And then the second LOTA is to begin effective July 1st for MOVE to fully take over all administrative all administrative functions of the program for an initial 2-year period. And then, of course, we can reevaluate future LOTAs to continue to extend into that master agreement period of 4 years with the optional 2 years. So that's what's before you today. The proposed budgets contained in each of the LOTAs are relevantly similar to what we have today in our Placer Rides program budget that's contained in the CTSA's annual budget. You can see that the two proposed prices or estimated budgets are right around our current budget. Our current budget is about $555,000 for the Placer Rides program in our current annual CTSA budget. So we're right around there for both of the initial years for the LOTA. So with that, staff recommends that the board authorize our executive director to execute a master agreement as well as the 2 corresponding LOTAs with MOVE. And then this item was presented to your technical advisory committee that concurred with staff's recommendation back at their meeting earlier this month. I'm happy to take any questions the board may have.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm challenged by the math. Can we go back to the slide before this, please? A master agreement has initial 4-year base term with 2 1-year extensions. And then second LOTA. So where is the 4-year base term in here? Because that would take you to 2030, and I don't see 2030 up there anywhere.
That is correct. So it is actually PCTPA's practice to not necessarily execute full term in a LOTA period. We do that for a couple of reasons, predominantly budgetary reasons. So our LOTA is actually just the first 2 years of that initial 4-year master agreement. And when that LOTA comes to term, we can bring back another LOTA to the board to continue the remaining 4 years or even execute those 2 additional 1-year extension options. So we do that to really control budget, to look at how the budget aligns on an annual basis with our CTSA's available financial resources. And that's done in multiple programs that we've done in the past, where we don't execute the full master agreement in one LOTA. We look at kind of piecing it out.
So is the master agreement for 4 years, and we're just doing the first 2 years of the 4 years?
That's correct.
Budget, yeah.
Okay.
And that's $1.123 million for the 2-year period, correct? When I did the math.
Correct.
Can you remind me what we paid Seniors First? Just curious, what for a similar contract? I'm just.
Our current budget for the Placer Rides program with Seniors First for this fiscal year is $555,000.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No. I like the van for vets.
Yeah.
I saw that was nice. So that was nice, very nice.
Okay, anyone in the public like to comment? Anyone online? Oh, good.
I'll move.
We have
Oh, no,
a
wait,
person
we got one
on public comment.
Someone on Zoom there, Bruce.
Mr. Eklund, you're free to speak.
My name is Peter Eklund. I'm a 15-year resident of Rockland, and I truly, favor, the basics of transit, which are choice and freedom, and this program is certainly very, very valuable. Gratefully, the amount available seems to increase each year, but it's very important that people who could use these programs understand well the relationship and overlap between the programs so that they take advantage of the one that's most useful for the variety of trips that they make. For example, fixed route is best for if it's available and because it has reliable boarding and arriving times. Dial ride is important, and then paratransit, which is part of dial ride, is important, and this one is also very important. So, but the important thing for the agencies is to get out information that includes information for all these programs in one place and in a brochure so that people can understand which one is appropriate for various needs. Because many seniors and handicapped people use all of them. ADA people use fixed route, and they also use the other thing. So, but, you know, that whole thing of getting the information out is just very important, and I hope that's taken seriously. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else, Sylvie?
No,
No?
no one
Okay.
else.
All righty. Well, then I'm ready for us to, we have a motion by Howard-Schultz,
I'll second.
second by Dowden Calvillo. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, we're going to move on to item K, the annual unmet transit needs assessment report and findings for fiscal year 2026-2027. Mike again.
Thank you again, Madam Chair and members of the board. As PCTPA is the regional transportation planning agency for Placer County designated by the state to administer our Transportation Development Act, or TDA, funds, we are responsible for administering the funding sources that are identified here on this slide. However, for the local transportation funds, or LTF, the administration of those funds allows for local transportation funds, which are primarily intended for public transit first. However, if there are alternative needs in our communities and there are no unmet transit needs, then LTF can be utilized for those alternative needs, like rehabbing or repairing your roadway facilities, which many of our local jurisdictions do use LTF for. However, before that process happens, we do have to conduct every year the annual unmet needs determination to assess whether or not there are unmet transit needs that are reasonable to meet before that LTF can be allocated for other purposes in our jurisdictions. So what is an unmet transit need and what is reasonable to meet? That criteria that's established on this slide is actually adopted by our board. The last time that our board adopted this criteria was back in 2022. There are two parts to this criteria. First, an unmet transit need is essentially for a service for public transit that does not exist today, and that service is not required under the Americans with Disabilities, or ADA, Act. So that's the first component that we have to look at for any comments we receive for unmet needs. The second component, which is reasonable to meet, has to meet all of those criteria that are established before you, which looks at essentially, if we are to provide a new public transit service, is it a sustainable service, and is it something that is well supported by our current planning efforts in our different planning documents that you see before you and that we bring before you on a regular basis. So every year, we usually start the unmet transit needs assessment in the fall, and our predominant mechanism for collecting and gathering feedback on this process is a survey that we, in this past cycle, released after Labor Day, and then it goes for about a 2-month period. I usually like to just time it right around the end of October or Halloween. And then during that period, we also conduct outreach with our partner jurisdictions to promote the survey and to bring awareness of this process throughout the region. Once we collect all of the survey comments and the feedback that we've heard during that 2-month period, we assess those comments based on the criteria that I showed in the previous slide. And then we meet with our Social Services Transportation Advisory Council, or SSTAC, which is a requirement per TDA regulations to assess our evaluation of those comments based on the criteria that are established by this board. And then those findings are presented to the board in the beginning of the year, right around the time when you receive your preliminary estimate of local transportation funds. As I mentioned before, we do conduct extensive outreach. In this last cycle, we provided a survey that was available in multiple languages. We did share information about this survey and about this process with all of your local staff, which was then subsequently promoted via different social media channels and even in some cases materials presented to your respective governing bodies. We did have one public meeting up in the Tahoe area. We do that in partnership with our other regional transportation planning agencies and MPOs, the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, as well as the Nevada County Transportation Commission. And then we also held a public hearing here at PCTPA's board meeting back in October of last year. So this cycle, we did receive 81 potential comments through our survey and through other means that were assessed, and 14 of those 81 comments were actually determined to be unmet transit needs based on that first criteria. However, in looking at the reasonable to meet criteria, none of those were determined reasonable to meet at this time. Again, this is something that I want to provide kind of just an emphasis on. If something is not an unmet transit need, and if it doesn't rise to the level of reasonable to meet, it does not mean that we still don't consider it for all of our transit service planning efforts. So all of these comments that you see on your slide about more frequency service to Sacramento, or more service in the evenings, or different direct services, we still do consider all of these comments in our transit service planning, coordination, and operational improvement efforts that we're doing on an annual, or even I would say monthly basis with our transit operators and our stakeholders. So if it doesn't meet the criteria that's established by this board, it doesn't mean it's being neglected. We are still considering these in all of our planning efforts. So that's an important thing to point out. But you can see that there are several reoccurring comments, and there are some valid, I would say, concerns with comments like services in Sheridan and Forest Hill. There are no public transit services out there. In order to meet some of those needs right now, it is very expensive to bring transit services out there. So we do instead really try to promote our Placer Rides program, where are some alternative solutions to be cost effective in those very rural areas. So those are things that, again, we try to do, and you'll see those in the comments contained in Appendix A, where we really look at, what are available services, what are appropriate service responses to these questions. And then recently we did have a short-range transit plan that was completed last year, and that really looked at a lot of these comments that you see before you and assessed, how we can structure future services. And so that is something we rely on in some of our analysis and evaluation process. So with that, staff is recommending the finding for next year, because we're looking ahead here, that there are no unmet transit needs that are reasonable to meet, and that the board accepts this report as completed for this year's assessment. We did bring this, of course, to our Social Services Transportation Advisory Council back in December for an initial review and evaluation of the comments, and then again in January for a final recommendation to the board, and they recommended that the board move forward with this finding before you today. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Okay, board members, any questions?
No.
Okay, anyone online would like to?
We do have someone.
Okay, great.
Mr. Eklund, you're free to speak.
Thank you very much. My name is Peter Eklund. I'm a 15-year resident of West Rockland. Good morning. I'm asking that assessments for requests 10 and 26 be changed from not an unmet transit need to unmet transit need. I'm not questioning, and I would not question, the second part of would be reasonableness, reasonableness at this time. I wouldn't question any decision, right or wrong, on that issue. The two requests involve the addition of fixed route service to the Wildcat Boulevard corridor in West Rockland. The sole justification for the not an unmet need assessment is that according to current county criteria, dollar ride service by itself is considered adequate transit service for residents. The change to an unmet transit need is vital for ongoing transit planning to address generally accepted transit demand factors such as development density, demographics, and the proximity of shopping, recreational, and medical trip generators. My request does not in any way diminish my continued support for existing dollar ride service. The simple difference between the assessment of this year's request and many submitted previously is that the current unmet transit needs criteria, updated by the board 5 years ago, added several poison pills that virtually eliminate many accepted factors for ongoing transit planning. Beginning with the 2023-2024 assessment, a fixed route transit service request is not an unmet transit need if either a fixed route or dial ride service is provided. Affected areas for Rockland's single dial ride zone include not only the city of Rockland, but Loomis and the Roseville retail corridor that includes the Gallery and Fairway Boulevard. Without a doubt, the Wildcat Boulevard corridor can support a base level of fixed route service and deserves designation as an unmet transit need. 5 locations on Wildcat Boulevard have residential densities of 10 to 20 units per acre, including a 288-unit low-income development a pending 120-unit moderate-income development, 3 major condominium developments, and a major senior assisted living facility. In addition, the corridor contains 2 community-level parks, the UC Davis Medical Clinic, a major grocery store nearby, and a pending 100-bed UC Davis Hospital with an adjacent hotel. On the performance level, fixed route transit in 2017 had 5 times the productivity of dial-a-ride, 3 times the fare box ratio, and 30% of the cost per passenger trip. Fixed route transit also has key advantages of no reservations required, virtually no capacity constraints, and reliable trip boarding and arrival times. Both from the perspective of the operator and potential rider, introducing a fixed route service is not only cost effective, but creates additional mobility for both the general public and ADA eligible residents. The materials I provided have some exhibits that I think are useful to look at.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Eklund. Would you like to address those?
Appreciate Mr. Eklund's comments. The criteria that we look at, because the dial-a-ride services in Rockland are offered to the general public. Again, they're not reserved to any particular population or group. They are offered to the general public, and they cover all the city limits of Rockland. The criteria does, and this is something that the Social Services Transportation Advisory Council has also looked at, does consider that a public transit service that's existing right now to the city of Rockland. Even though it's not a fixed route service, it satisfies as an existing public transit service under the current criteria.
Okay. Any other comments or? Okay,
I'll move approval of the resolution.
okay, we have a motion by Burris and a second by Brown. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, we're going to move on to L, the Executive Director's Report.
All right, well, good morning, everybody. Oh, did I do it? I did do it. Thanks, everybody. I wanted to start out with just sort of a recap of a big event for us. Last month in January, we were able to host the California Transportation Commission. It was a great event, not just to showcase Placer County and all of our municipalities, but to also get an opportunity to meet with sort of the decision makers and those staffers who control a lot of different, budgetary purses that we go after over time. So I do want to thank all of you. A lot of you attended. I know there were some conflicting events. Roseville had their installation dinner that night. Mayor Berlusconi was nice enough to show up in full sequence for a little bit,
right.
So that was very kind of her, and appreciate it. But just as a recap of the CTC, that morning, and this is getting to sort of the brass tacks here, we had the opportunity to tour the Rockland Road interchange location. And what we did there is we asked Ali Zimmerman, city manager of Rockland, and Willie Duncan, the president of the Sierra College, to sort of talk with the CTC Commission about the needs of Rockland Road interchange and really the lack of bicycle and pedestrian connectivity between Sierra College to the east and sort of what is this growing sort of area of economic development and town center that the city of Rockland wants to create sort of on the west side. I just want to say it went off tremendously well, and I really want to take the opportunity this morning to really thank both Ali and Willie for participating. Ali had the great idea to really, I would say, encourage the CTC commissioners who come from all over the state to actually get off of the bus and walk the corridor down Sierra College to actually go under the overpass and see what that feels like. We parked the bus, and people were like, "Oh, do I really want to get off of this bus?" And then Ali encouraged them, and the CTC incoming chair said, "I'll do it," and then everybody just got up and followed her off. And so they had the opportunity to see what that really feels like. And here's just a couple of pictures of that experience. We then took them over to Sierra College, and Willie talked to them about the new student housing and the fact that they're now it's not just it's not just a commuter campus anymore. It still has a lot of that, but it's also people living there and students living there. So we took them in and they got an opportunity to tour the dormitory in the new 100-bed facility. And they very much appreciated that, because what we're trying to do, when we put together grants, and we'll put together the data about the traffic and the congestion and the climate and all of those things, but we really wanted them firsthand to see the community and understand our story and understand where Rockland is and what it is. Because again, these people are from Los Angeles and San Diego, and we wanted them to sort of put a face and a place with the name that they'll see. So this was very early sort of advocacy, which will later turn into grant applications in the pursuit of competitive state dollars. And so I really just wanted to take an opportunity to publicly thank Allie and Willie. And I will say, we already that day after the tour, before the meeting started, were approached by members of CTC staff who offensively came up to us and asked us to come in and have a meeting. So, and so it's already paying dividends. And then, of course, we had a lovely evening reception, and it was a really good time. And we went around, thanked all of the staff members and the commissioners. We fed them Randy Peters, which they loved, of course. And I think they'll be calling us, and we'll get a chance to host them again in a couple of years. So that was the big thing.
Mr.
Yes, Director.
I cannot let your comment about our mayor go without explanation.
Okay.
That evening
Yeah.
was the Roseville Area Chamber of Commerce
Yeah.
annual installation dinner. So while Roseville is sparkling, and she reflected that in her outfit, that's why she was,
Yeah.
not dressed in.
She was the best-dressed person there.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I don't think we needed an explanation.
And that,
Crystal
and
looked
I wasn't
fabulous.
there because,
Yeah.
I had to escort my lovely bride to the chamber.
No, it was great for everyone to come, and no, it was a great event.
It was. I wanted to comment.
Yeah,
that I really
please.
appreciated the opportunity. I had a chance to chat with several of the commissioners at length, in fact, and almost bonded because of our previous staffing lives. But I thought it went really, really well, and they were, the commissioners that I spoke to were really appreciative of the opportunity to get out in the field and to see for their own eyes. We talked about the fact that, yes, we recognize Placer County is not LA or San Francisco or San Jose, but we have issues that need to be addressed too. And so how much we appreciated their coming out. So it was a great job. I didn't do the tour, but like I said, I spoke to several of them at length, and they were very appreciative. So great job to everybody.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. And that, all of that work, and Solvi did double duty in putting all of that together with Doug and the CTC staff, right? It's like, the way I explain it is to people is it's like putting on a wedding, right? Getting the stage and getting the caterer and getting the RSVs, and so all of the little things that it takes to do that. And where that will pay off is not only is it the right thing to do to showcase, our geography, but then, you'll hear us throughout this year talk about the competitive grant applications that we're going to put together. And this is very much the beginning of a 10 to 12 month, campaign to bring some of that competitive state funding back to our region. I will let you know, and you approved the budget for it earlier, that next week we are going to have our 8065 value engineering workshop. Director Wilkins is actually going to attend as well. We have about 28 professionals from around the region coming, from structures people, operational folks, traffic folks, things like that. And the point being is to get everyone together who's ever touched or worked on this interchange in a room to say, in a reality where we don't have $800 million for a level 4 interchange, and we're likely not going to have that in the next couple of cycles, what can we do to sort of keep things moving, or at least keep 8065 operating safely? How does that align with funding, and how can we put together a 3 to 5 year cycle of packages to go seek grant funding for that? So we'll be doing that next week. Just so you know, the build grant for this cycle for Rockland Road Interchange went in yesterday, so that was successfully submitted officially by the city, and we still are waiting to hear on other grant activity. STBG and CMAQ, that's a fancy way of saying our federal funding that we're now doing collaboratively through with SACOG. We're wrapping up our master list by municipality. Mike actually was locked down yesterday for about 9 hours with SACOG and folks from all of your jurisdictions and all of your staff to start finalizing that list. I do want to announce the small city funding legislation. We did get our bill filed last Friday.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have a bill number, Assembly Bill 2679. It was filed by Assemblywoman Hadwick, who's running the bill. She and her team were also successful in getting 4 co-authors, one of them a Democrat out of Los Angeles. Very important because really this is REMRA funding. It's a small amount of SB1 funding, and really what we just want is those big, to what Vice Chair Dowden-Cavillo was saying, really what we want is those sort of big players inside of the state just to sort of let this one go by, just to be honest, right? So we're just hoping that they're pulling down a lot of revenue for a lot of their very important, transportation needs in their counties and cities, but we're hoping they'll just let this one go by. So the co-authorship is important, and I think we're in a good position. As far as phase 1 improvements, we're on schedule to list State Road 65 by the end of the year and go to construction in spring of 27. And I'll just point out 2 other things that aren't on the slide. One, it is that time of year for what we call community directed or congressionally directed spending, what we used to call earmarks. So for 2027, if any of your member jurisdictions are looking to ask for earmarks, it's that time of year. PCTPA is not going to seek earmarks through Congressman Kiley for 27 outright as an entity, so we're looking to understand if any of your cities or town or the county are going to do that and how we can provide letters of support through Congressman Kiley. There will also be, just as a reminder, separate earmarking process potentially as part of the reauthorization of the large bill. This is just the last fiscal year of the current bill. And so just please get in contact with us if you need letters of support for any earmarks you're going to independently seek. The portal for earmarks are also open for Senators Padilla and Schiff. I don't know how fruitful that would be, but also if you are going to seek that, just let us know as well so we can support you in that. And then just lastly, in wrapping, as far as the April 29th board meeting, remember it was the 22nd. We moved it to the 29th due to cap to cap. And we are having some scheduling issues trying to find a location because some of what's going on, just some conflict with some other county scheduling. So long story short, we may go dark in April. We're looking to see if we can't stack the March agenda and then the May agenda where we wouldn't need an April meeting. So stay tuned. We will let you know as soon as we know, but we may go dark in April and try to achieve that in March and May. That concludes my remarks, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to comment on that?
Yeah, I was going to say, perhaps if location is the issue, if we do end up having agenda items that do need to be serviced in April, perhaps one of our cities may be able to host. I know Colfax would be available, although we're not going to be as technologically advanced as the county. I'm sure we could probably make arrangements at any one of our cities.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that was an excellent, the commissioners' meeting. That was a mixer. That was fun. And Sylvie did a great job, as always. And actually, Jody, I know you helped her too, didn't you? It was a lot of work. Yeah, it was a lot of work. Okay, does anybody have any comments for the board direction to the staff or comments? No, I just want to mention, I just got back from the NACO Legislative Conference, the National Association of Counties, and it was really very interesting. The bills and everything that are coming out, they're attempting to, let's see, it's the Surface Streets Transportation bill. They have to renew it. They have to start it over because it expires in September, I believe it is. So they have to renew it. But what they're trying to do with several of these bills is they're trying to make it so that the funds go directly to local governments and bypasses the state, so that we don't all get the little, yeah, the little handouts. And so they gave quite a few interesting facts. 44% of counties own and maintain 44% of America's roads. 1.8 million miles are county-owned, and where the majority of trips both start and end. Counties own and maintain 38% of the bridges. 52% of our nation's bridges in poor condition are owned by counties. 40% of public transportation systems are county-supported, including buses, trains, light rail, and subway stations. And counties are involved in the ownership and operation of 34% of public airports, including major international hubs. And so that was their new mantras. We are counties, because there are, I think they said over 3,000 counties that participate with the National Association of Counties. And so it was, gosh, very interesting. So they do policy briefs. They have got steering committees that come up with these policy briefs and things that they are recommending, to Congress on their bills and such. So that was really interesting. I'm just trying to think if there was something else I wanted to tell you. Oh, we toured the train station, Union Station, and it was really, really cool. But the interesting thing about it is they have a new train that is called, I've got to find it here. The Acela, yes, the next gen Acela. You can go 160 miles an hour, but it only runs between Boston and Washington, D.C. right now. And they're actually coming out with another train that is, I don't know how far that one's going to go, but they're coming out with another train. And so they've got, it's called Amtrak Aero. It's going to be launching in 2026. So they have, they've got that one. They've also got a Mardi Gras train that goes from Mobile, Alabama to New Orleans in 25. They said their ridership is up to like 70,000 on that train. So, yeah, it's pretty.
Broadway and I are happy that you're on board with commuter rail.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you something else that they've proposed. The NACO Transportation has proposed a couple of bills to, to allow counties to take abandoned rails and either build on them or to turn them into parks and trails. And so I guess there are a lot of abandoned rails throughout.
Rails to Trails program.
Yeah, throughout the entire county. So besides all that stuff, we heard from some transportation assistant secretaries and stuff like that. It was really extremely interesting. Got a lot of information if you want to hear or know anything. And
And just quickly on that, what you're referring to and what NACO is interested in is what's known as the Basics Act.
The Basics Act.
And right now, the federal funding split, about 85% goes right to state departments of transportation. The other 15% flows down to MPOs and RPOs, including an entity like a SACOG. And what the MPOs and regional entities want is that split to go up from 15 to 25%. And so the associations of cities and counties and the MPOs are going to be in favor of the Basic Act. The AASHTO, the American Association of State Highway Transportation Officials, which is state DOTs, wants it to remain. They would argue, even though they only control 9 to 10% of the lane miles, it's carrying 70 to 80% of all vehicle miles traveled. So we don't necessarily have a position on that, but positions will be forming. And so it's a good reminder that during the course of this year, as we get into reauthorization, we'll have to understand if there's an official position we as PCTPA want to take on that.
Yeah, that was, so they're supporting, NACO is supporting a dedication to rural and non-metropolitan areas. But I did have a request by Sacramento county supervisor to not let the money go to SACOGs and COGs and to come right straight to local governments.
Placer County Supervisors?
No, Sacramento County. Yeah, they don't like that SACOG gets all the money and then we get, because they kind of get, SAC loses out a little bit when they go for the smaller counties, you know.
Madam Chair, on topic, last week at our Capital Quarter Joint Powers Authority meeting, we began the process of a vision plan, and they haven't done a vision plan for a decade.
Wow.
So Director Broadway and I sat with a consultant who's going to be facilitating that. So there'll be a small ad hoc group of CCJPA members that will meet over the course of the year and come up with a vision plan. Related to that is, I always get this wrong, I'm on the mega region on SACOG, but part of the rails stuff is quarter ID. So, you know, train going south to San Joaquin, train going to Reno, Tahoe, you know, beginning the visioning of all of that. So that'll wrap up at the end of this year.
Well, that's great. That's great. Well, hopefully we get some more federal funding to go to rails, and we can do something with that one in Roseville that we had to put on hold. Yeah, there was the FEMA they're trying to reform as well. And then, like you said, the SPEED Act and then the Basics Act. So there several that they talked about. The Housing for the 21st Century Act. And anyway, so it was a lot of information, really information overload. But
Did you shovel snow while you were there?
no, actually, we got lucky. I think it was Sunday night. It snowed from about 9 until midnight, but it was blowing snow. We got a little dusting, and by the next day, about noon, it was all
And you had
melted.
to shut the city down, because that's the way DC works, right?
Well, that's what they were saying, that 2 weeks before that, when they had the heavy snow,
It's like 2 inches of snow
They-
in Auburn.
they shut the city down. Yeah.
I
Anyway,
just didn't come drive to SACOG, that's
yeah,
all.
she didn't want to come down.
Madam
the hill.
Chair, if I
Yes, please.
could, and I apologize, could I see by show of hands who's going to cap? Okay, so, okay, the whole board. And is there a desire while we're there to do another sit-down with our federal advocate, like we did? Okay. And is Sunday okay?
Yes,
Okay.
Sunday.
Try to do it after the brunch, but usually before afternoon tea? Or-
Well, we have the,
Oh, yeah,
we have the morning, Sunday's the big.
I have a meeting.
I was generally pointing at everyone with maybe you in the middle of that point relative to brunch.
It's the night.
Comments have been made before about brunch and teas.
You were mischaracterized earlier in the meeting.
Yes,
You were not a joker, you were a Riddler.
I'm the Riddler.
I guess I better get on scheduling that.
Well, we have the big morning meeting, all the committees, right, on Sunday? Is that Sunday? Or
Monday
Saturday?
morning will be the Transportation Committee's briefing, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, unfortunately, the county, we're going to be doing our lobbying on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
And
I will
then
try to look
possibly
for something
Wednesday.
Sunday.
And then possibly Wednesday.
okay.
Possibly Wednesday morning.
Yeah,
but
possibly
I
Wednesday.
fly back out Wednesday, but I'm also going for air quality, so I don't know exactly what my agenda is,
Okay.
because they're paying for me to go, because I gotta go.
Oh, you'll love air quality.
Yeah, so I'm meeting with my schedules with forest guys to try and get us money to clean our forest, so I'll let you know. But also what I wanted to say was, on April 29th, it is on our calendar to have a board meeting here. That's why the room's not available, but it is to be determined. It could be canceled. So if it isn't, then Suzanne and I would not be at the 29th
Yeah,
meeting.
you won't be able to.
Or if it's canceled, then we can have it here.
Okay,
So just FYI.
okay. Okay, yeah, and usually the lobbying will start Monday morning, but there's other Placer events, right, on Friday and
Yeah,
Saturday. So
yeah.
the last couple of years, we've tried to do Sunday. But, okay,
Sunday
thank you
would
for
be
that.
good. Yeah, okay.
I have a 7 a.m. with my team, but I'm on the wildfire team.
Well, you're-
so I don't know why, but it's just, I got a 7 o'clock.
So you're talking more
Might be
like
10 o'clock, I don't know.
afternoon.
But not too late to interrupt our tea. We might do tea on Saturday. We'll figure it out. Are you
Okay.
up for tea again, Matt?
I'd l- yeah. 12:30, so maybe I'll shoot for
12:30?
12:30 to 2 as a window for our federal briefing on Sunday.
Sure, that sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else have anything else? Seeing none, we're adjourned. It's only 9:58. Wow.
Are you going